All right, guys, we're back, and today we're going to break down Baker Mayfield's Hollywood debut with the LA Rams. And I won't go too long in the intro, but this is just what it looks like when Baker has competent coaching and not good, but adequate cast. It's not that he had good players. It's Ben Skoranek and Van Jefferson as his starting wide receivers, and his offensive line features Ty and Secchi at left tackle. It's backups everywhere, but they were doing what they were supposed to do. Not well necessarily, just generally running the correct plays. And that's something that he really hasn't experienced in Carolina or Cleveland in the last 2 years. There's no freelancing diva wide receiver. There's no completely lost rookie offensive lineman. And there's no coach putting him in extremely disadvantageous game scripts by running the ball too much or throwing these quick passes that aren't effective for anything. And just look at how he flourishes. I hate to say I told you so, but I just lied because I fucking love telling you guys I told you so. There's a reason I keep on telling you he's pretty good, and you need to give him a fucking chance, and you need to watch with a more discerning eye. Because the passing yards and the losses, they have a lot more to do with what's around him and what he's being asked to do than they do with his actual play. And that's why, despite the fact that the teams keep changing, the coordinators keep changing, the results keep changing, my grades keep staying pretty fucking similar for him. Because my grades are based on what he's actually doing and not what the result is. The result is based on what 11 people on the field are doing and the 11 people that are guarding them and the coaching. When you just put it in a vacuum, Baker Mayfield has been a good quarterback all year, and he was a great quarterback this Thursday. Without any further ado, I'll quit my bitching. Let's get to the tape. So Baker's going to come into the game in a 10-point hole already because John Wolford handed the ball off 3 times on his first and only drive of the game. And sure enough, with 36 hours in the playbook, they come out slinging. And that's a good throw. That's a solid throw. Like, yes, it was open, the leverage was pretty simple, but it was downfield and it was on target. You can't ask for more, especially under these circumstances. Here on second down, Sean McVay runs a very simple boot left. I know exactly why he's running this play too. So it's a flood concept basically. You're going to have your tight end. So let's rewind a little bit more. This tight end is going to kind of run a drag out here. And then this slot receiver number 12 is going to run a deep in. So like 10 yards downfield. So you're going to have 2 dudes both in the same area. So here's that tight end finishing his drag. Here you've got your strong side slot leaking out. And then down here you'll have that weak side slot receiver, number 12, Van Jefferson. Baker ran this a lot in Cleveland with Kevin Stefanski, and he turns it into a neutral run. Good on him. You know, the throw wasn't there, and he made something of it anyway. Third and 2, and Baker goes for everything. This isn't a great throw. I know that there was a lot of consternation. Is this holding? Is this pass interference? If the ball is another yard downfield, it's probably a touchdown. So that's a bad throw. He just missed, and that happens sometimes. On to drive 2. So after throwing the ball quite a bit on the first drive, really airing it out with Baker, they're going to come out and run the ball, which is probably more prudent, especially against a bad Raiders run D. They're still down 10 points, but it's early. Props to Cam Akers. He's been uncharacteristically bad this year, but in this game he actually showed a little bit of what he used to be. A little explosive, little power. Here, another solid throw by Baker. In stride, you properly utilize his leverage to give his receiver the cutback availability. You know, if he puts that low and outside, it's a safer catch, but okay, and here Baker just goes the wrong way on the handoff. He fucks up the play, and I'm not going to grade that because that's the kind of thing that happens occasionally when you've been in the offense for less than 2 days. Like, that's not indicative of his play. That's simply a logistical problem. But as I was saying earlier, Baker puts the ball on the back shoulder a little bit so that the receiver can catch the ball and turn back upfield rather than trying to lead him down and outside, which is a safer completion but less explosive. Speaking of explosive, here a nice 20-yard dart downfield. That's a great throw. Utilizing his receiver's height. You know, he knows that he's got a height advantage with Skoranek, who's about 6'3". Puts it up high. Great leverage. It's a great throw. You couldn't ask for any better. Unfortunately, the Rams cough the ball up, and what looks like a very promising Baker drive is going to turn into not so much. But we'll see. We'll see how he responds in drive 3. So the Raiders throw an end zone pick, and the Rams come out here trying to see if they can get something started on this 2-minute drill. And despite what everybody knows happened at the end of the game, running a 2-minute drill when you're brand new to the offense is incredibly hard. So that first throw, that's a simple fact of... Here, I'll show it again. When you're running these horizontal streaking routes, so like a drag or, in this case, a flat, it's really hard if you don't have experience with a player to gauge how fast they're moving away from you when they're still moving sideways. And it's also hard to understand when they're going to look up. So this is just a timing issue. That ball is accurate. He puts it where he wants to. It's a pedestrian throw. It's just an issue of timing. And that shit's going to happen, right? Like, in a different scenario, it's probably still a catchable ball, but when you know that you're really just trying to get to halftime anyway, I don't think that Higbee was really going all out for that play. Nor do I think he should have. So that's the first half. Really flew by. We only really got 2 drives. But Baker looked really good, right? He had a great throw, 2 solid throws, a pedestrian throw, and a bad throw. He also had a neutral run. So that's a really positive half, especially considering the low volume and how new he is to this team. We'll call this the true drive 3, because if we're being real with ourselves, that's what this is. To open the second half, they come out play action. Baker throws downfield. He just missed. I don't know what that was, if he was thinking Van Jefferson was going to come in a little bit more, like a button hook rather than a curl. I'm not certain, but it's bad. Even if it was a button hook, you can still put that a little higher. Here, on the other hand, I'm going to say that this is a positive run. He gets about 8 yards from it. And a plus pocket movement. He did a really good job to navigate. Baker doesn't have great athleticism, but it's certainly good enough. Speaking of good enough, that throw wasn't great, but it was pedestrian. It was catchable. Fine. I would have liked the ball to be a little bit more outside, but that's a fine throw, especially on 3rd down to convert. It is what it is. Here, Baker shows a really good job of avoiding. This is actually a really savvy play by him. This is excellent pocket awareness. And having played with those terrible offensive lines in Carolina, this is something I'm not surprised he's developed. So it's play action. He just sets up in his pocket now, and he's already got Chandler Jones beating the shit out of Ty Nseki's old ass on the left tackle. You'll note, by the way, that this backup Rams offensive line is blocking infinitely better than anything he saw in Carolina. Baker realizes that if he tries to throw this ball to Cam Akers, his running back, right here, which is what he was trying to do here, he's going to get the ball slapped out of his hand on the backswing, and it's going to be a fumble, probably a touchdown for the Raiders. So he eats it, and he tries to step through. Now, he can't step through because he's getting double pressured, but it was a really good pocket movement to know what's going on around him, and a really good pocket movement to try to step through even if it didn't work. Here, I don't know how he breaks this. He's got no pocket to step into. He also couldn't roll to his right because that's where Max Crosby is. He's totally screwed. This should be a sack. But he anchors his base, doesn't give Max Crosby an accurate, target to tackle. Another good plus move, and then he throws it away on the run. So on this drive, everything went wrong for Baker. And then here, he bobbles the snap, and he throws a bad throw. So everything went wrong for the boy on this drive here. But it still showed encouraging traits that show that, one, his traumas with terrible offensive line play have not scarred him. He is still he's not oblivious to the rush. He's also not paranoid about it. And he still knows how to improvise and handle things on the fly, which is very encouraging because a lot of young quarterbacks get ruined by these kinds of things. The Rams will come out running the ball. Nothing is more friendly to a quarterback than an effective run game, right? I don't know how true that is, but 2nd and 1 is certainly a great set of downs to be in. Rams utilize play action and throw downfield. This is just a miscommunication. I think Baker thought he was going to bend it up a field a little bit more. You can see, I mean, if you watch the play again, it looks like Baker thinks that this is going to be more of a, like, bend around post, and Jefferson thinks it's going to be more of an in-cutting post, like a slant, like a deep slant. And Jefferson's like, oh, that's wrong. And Baker's like, what's the problem here? You're going to have some clear miscommunication problems, but still going to grade it as a bad throw. This one is a throwaway. Look at Max Crosby. Like, this is a screen, and he was a half step from getting a sack. Totally unblocked, so quick, anchors so fast, so ready for this bat. That's impressive. Third and 10. Baker needs something big. I would love to see the All-22 and see what he's got going on here. It's not out yet, and I wanted to get this video up early for you guys. It looks like it's probably going to be some form of a streak here and a streak here with a leak out here, which is just like a flat, and another flat here. So right now, he should get the ball to 19, but he knows that that's not going to be enough for a first down. So he pulls it down and tries to run. Now, I think that's stupid. I think he should have gone to 19. I'm going to call that a bad negative run. But again, I'm not going to give him too hard of a time for not progressing through his reads properly because he is so new. Basically, the expectation for him in this game is extremely low. So exceeding that expectation is going to be relatively easy, and underwhelming it is going to be relatively hard. Like, yes, that was a bad play. His pocket awareness was not good on that play. But what did you expect? All right, third drive of the second half. They get him rolling left again, and this is that crazy arm talent that Baker has. Rolling left, changes platforms, does a fadeaway jumper basically, and zings it in there with perfect placement. That's a solid throw with a pulse pocket movement because he's rolling left and going airborne to get it off. That's awesome platform changing. And then here, he shows off the arm talent again, going wicked deep. It's difficult to know if this would have been caught or not. But let's just check out the arm talent, right? So line of scrimmage is the 29, and Baker loads it up from 9 yards in the backfield, and he lands that ball right on the 15. Quick math, 29 plus 15, 44. 100 minus 44, 56. It's a 56-yard downfield throw. Add in the 9 yards for his depth in the pocket. It's over a 60-yard throw. It's a lot of arm talent. And he gets the DPI, and frankly, it was deserved. I'm not sure that it wouldn't have been completed had there not been DPI. So, whenever you look at Baker's passing stats from this game, add 50 yards of DPI that he put on the fucking board, because that's passing yards he can't get back. Here in the red zone, they're probably thinking that the red zone is difficult to operate in, especially, like, even before, you know, adding in all the factors of being new to the team. Red zone's difficult. So they're probably just trying to run the ball, be safe, use their trick plays to artificially produce yards. But that's a neutral run. It's effectively a throwaway. This is a well-thrown screen. Like, it's a plus-move pedestrian screen, but it's going to come back for a hold. Like I said, it seems like they're really just trying to find ways to move the ball downfield without throwing here. And while I understand that motivation and that fear, it's not very effective, as you can tell. That's a little forfeiture right there. On 3rd and 19, just throwing like the 5-yard slant. Stop slant, get the ball in the middle of the field. Set up the field goal a little bit better. Now, ironically, the center throws a little hissy fit and gets a penalty pushing the ball back to to the 46. So it's a 61-yard field goal. Yikes. And that's just going to be the death knell. Things seem to be going wrong for Baker again. Or are they? More play action, more rolling left throwing drag routes to the tight end. It's something that Baker did a lot with Kevin Stefanski and did about as well as anybody. There's not many quarterbacks that throw while moving to their left as well as Baker Mayfield. You can count them on one hand. Tua doesn't count because he's a lefty. Here it's just a poorly thrown deep ball. This is a lot of anticipation. You got to really understand the speed of your receiver, and he just misjudges it. Shit's going to happen. There was an offensive holding on the play, and that's why it's not going to count. But, yeah, things are starting to really peter out for Baker and the Rams. It's clear that there's a disconnect here. Like, they don't know what to run. I mean, he's already thrown the ball like 20 times. They're probably running out of things that they think he's capable of running. After an offsides penalty gives the Rams second life on that drive, Baker starts throwing downfield again. No play action, and he guns it in there. We've seen this play before. They're starting to repeat plays. It's a great throw. You know, relatively tight window. Ball had to be there in time. 15 yards downfield. Good stuff. There was a hold, so he's back in an even deeper hole, though. More play action. Throws it back. It's a pedestrian throw. It's got a plus movement. He did a really good job of selling that fake. He did a really good job of fading away, throwing the fadeaway jumper effectively to buy his running back an extra step. And then here, he guns that fucker in there. It's a great throw. We'll call it solid because it was only about 12 yards downfield, but he really showed some zip on that pass. Here, he's got, look at this. So this is crazy. Play action again. Notice they're doing a ton of play action, like an ungodly amount. And you know what? It's going to work because the Raiders are probably thinking, this kid's been here a day. He doesn't know the playbook. They can't keep throwing like this, right? Wrong. So here, you're going to see Baker's head's getting contacted by Chandler Jones as he throws. Now, that's not a penalty, and I'm not asking for one. What I am saying is that it makes it a lot harder to make this throw, because this is a deep, very difficult throw. And it might explain why the throw was a touch high. Now, Tutu Atwell's 5'5". If Tutu Atwell is a normal-sized receiver, that is still a catch and a great throw. So I'm going to still call it a solid throw, even though, all things considered, it could have been a little better. Now, that throw was completed, but I think we can all agree that was not an accurate throw. So I'll call that one bad. I mean, I'm sure you saw the replays if you watched the game, but Skoranek has to jump backwards, and it's really just a valiant effort. That ball died on him. I don't understand what happened. Not pretty. I'll call that bad. That wasn't accurate. Still, Skoranek made a great play on the ball. Good for him. He's really bounced back amazingly this year after being terrible last year. You may remember in the Super Bowl when OBJ got hurt, Skoranek came in and immediately dropped a pass which turned into an interception and almost gave the Bengals the win. So, first down in enemy territory, running the ball. And you know what? When you run for 8 yards on first down, I'm not going to knock it. Here, they do the same. You've seen this play. It is a tight end slip out to the left. It is your slot receiver from the right coming over on a big, deep in. It is Baker Mayfield rolling left. This is the third time we've seen this play already. And you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's been working for him. It's something he did really well in Cleveland. It's a play that he ran a ton with Kevin Stefanski. You've got plays that he understands. Keep running them. So they keep doing it. Now this throw's a little harder to grade. Baker's clearly on the move, and he puts it low like he wants to, but I think he might have put it a little too low. So we'll call that bad, but we'll understand that he's not missing by much here. Here, that's just beautiful. It's really beautiful. Steps up through pressure, getting hit, throws a fucking strike 13 yards. That's a great throw. It's really hard to throw those outbreakers. It was perfect. It was on the money, and he's getting hit while he does it for a plus move. It's a great play. Here, that's just pedestrian. He had all day. Look at... Baker Mayfield's got to be freaking out over how much time he's got in the pocket in this game. Now, I know that the Raiders' defensive line isn't great, but Max Crosby's great, and Chandler Jones is all right. But this backup ragtag group in a 5-man protection is holding up way better than the expensive offensive line in Carolina ever did. Just, he has so much more time. And he's still navigating the pocket. He's already got 12 pocket movements that are positive in this game, which is plenty for an entire game, and we're not done yet. But it just goes to show what an incredible difference coaching and cast make. Here, look at him maneuver that pocket, stepping up and through, making a pedestrian throw, but a high-end pedestrian throw. Yeah, that was pretty tight coverage. And really just the pocket manipulation is what was great on that play. It's at least one plus pocket move. And then here is another plus pocket move, running that same basic concept of rolling out left and throwing that little drag or flat with it. And that's just a really difficult throw. Like, first of all, he's got two dudes that he's trying to make sure he doesn't get hit by and that he doesn't get the ball batted by. He lays that ball in there in such a way that even if Cam Akers stops his feet, he's going to fall forward for the first down. That is a solid throw, and that's probably the shortest solid throw you'll ever see. But it was really difficult, especially because you're backed up in the end zone and the coverage is just tight. And finally, Cam Akers pounds the ball in. All of a sudden, we got a football game here. And Baker Mayfield's not going to get a touchdown pass on this drive, but boy did he earn one. After just an incredible punt, Baker's got 2 minutes and no timeouts to go 98 yards. And he starts off not so hot. That's a bad throw. And again, Tutu Atwell's 5'5". It's got to be a little different for Baker to throw to somebody so much shorter than he's used to throwing to. But you got to complete that pass. That was just bad. This, on the other hand, was solid. That's tight coverage. That's not prevent defense. That's legitimate coverage. Drops back, under pressure, getting hit, and it was a great throw. I know what you're thinking, though. You're thinking, that got picked. That should be a pick. What are you talking about? How is that a great throw? Well, the reason there's a flag is for a defensive pass interference. And when you see the pass interference, you'll understand why Van Jefferson was a yard short on his route of where he was supposed to be. And if Van Jefferson was where he was supposed to be, he'd have a very good chance of catching that ball. Are you going to show the replay? You better show the replay. They're not going to show the replay. Well, ain't that some shit? Let's see if I can show you on the actual play. So, you'll see right here, he just tugs on his arm the second time. He tugged on his arm a little earlier in the route too, but he tugs on his arm a second time there. It completely disrupts the timing. That is the exact reason for the pick, and it's why Baker is so incredibly confident that this is going to be on the defense. That's, again, it's 12 yards of penalty yardage that isn't going to go in Baker's total, and he totally earned. Now here, he just gets lit up. Max Crosby's already about done getting this sack, and it's a mesh route, so these two are supposed to kind of cross each other, and it's supposed to form a natural pick, right? So 41's supposed to run under. These two defenders are supposed to kind of collide with each other, leaving 41 wide open running over here so he can get out of bounds. It's not even, they haven't even meshed yet, and Baker's already getting hit. That's a no-fault sack. That sucks. But it's okay. He gets bailed out by an incredibly dumb play by Jerry Tillery, smacking the ball out of his hand. Controversial? Absolutely. Lucky? Absolutely. But we don't blame Baker because he got a lucky break for once. And here he follows it up by saying, I fucking deserve this shit, because that is an elite throw. Now I know what you're thinking, it's a little bit of a jump ball. It absolutely is. But here's the thing. He knows he's got over-the-top coverage, right? So he can't lead the receiver downfield on a streak. He also knows that he's got inside leverage from the defender. So his best bet is to put the ball outside and let him go up and moss this dude. And he does. He knows he's got a 6'3" wide receiver. He knows that he's got a cornerback with his back to the ball. He knows that if he puts the ball high, his receiver's got a good chance on the ball. And this is actually something that DJ Moore did a terrible job of in Carolina. And I've actually laid it out on these videos quite a few times. So I pulled up a clip of it. This is a Robbie Anderson clip, but it was easier to find. It's the same idea. Basically just Baker realizing, oh, my receiver's not going to win deep. Like right here, Robbie Anderson should realize, like, okay, I'm not going to be able to get deep quick enough. I need to turn around and check for the back shoulder because I'm at the sticks. And Robbie Anderson doesn't, tries to turn it into a deep route, and it falls incomplete. It looks like Mayfield has no idea what he's doing. Really, it's just a lack of awareness by Robbie Anderson. And while you may be saying Robbie Anderson knows better than you, Joe, I defy you to see what Robbie Anderson has done since leaving Baker Mayfield this year and tell me that that's indicative of a guy who knows what the fuck is going on. Alright, back to the regular video. So as I just got done explaining to you, DJ Moore has a penchant to continue running his route, basically insisting that he will win if given time. Instead, Ben Skoranek turns around, looks for the back shoulder, and makes a great catch. And this goes to a little bit of something I was saying on my reaction podcast, which is simply that there's a pedestrian throw under pressure. Simply that in order to play good football, you don't necessarily need people to bail you out or help you, but you need people to do what you expect them to do, because otherwise you're fighting an uphill battle. And for the first time in at least a couple of years, Baker seems to be playing on a team that's well enough coached and, disciplined enough that it is predictable, not boring, but predictable what will happen. You can operate within that system because it exists rather than, divas freelancing. Finally, we're going to end this game with an under pressure, because that's Max Crosby engulfing him. Under pressure, perfect deep ball. I'm sure you've seen it a million times, but that's an elite throw if I ever seen one in my life. I love that they give you the tight copy. I hate Amazon for a lot of reasons, but they do a good job with the camera angles on Thursday Night Football. They really do. Look at that. Dropping a bucket. It doesn't get better than that on Madden. It really doesn't. It's perfect. So that's Baker Mayfield's magic comeback. All right, let's get to the charts. So as you can see here, I gave Baker 2 elite throws, right? They both came on that final drive. That deep ball to Skoranek where he properly uses the leverage to give Skoranek a great chance at a jump ball, and the game-winning touchdown. I also gave him 3 great throws. 2 of them came on those really deep in routes. Just a ton of velocity and accuracy. 7 solid throws, throwing past the sticks quite a bit. 12 pedestrian throws, which I actually thought was the most impressive part of this game. I think 5 of those came on those little play-action boot left throws where he's running to his left and he throws the really short little flat route typically. And then 7 misses, a few of which were probably just due to the fact that he's new in this offense and didn't know what the hell he was supposed to be doing, but bad nonetheless. He also had 2 sacks, neither of which were his fault, just immediate pressure. He had the 1 throwaway, which was just the screen where Max Crosby's already sacking him by the time he's getting rid of the ball, and he just tried to gun it under him. There's nothing he can really do. He had that 1 positive run for 8 yards. He had 2 neutral runs, a negative run where he should have checked the ball down to his receiver, and he didn't. And then he had 15-plus pocket movements, which is, as you can see compared to the rest of his season, quite a few pocket movements that are positive. He did a really good job of navigating the pocket. He had 35 true throws, aimed passes in this game, and He was accurate, rather, on 77.4% of them, which is really high. It's even higher than his season average. 77.4% of passes is 5% over the average. So the average starting quarterback is accurate, rather, on 72.2% of their passes so far in games that I've graded. Baker was 5% better than that. Additionally, Baker had a positive play on 35% of his snaps in this game. That's ridiculous. Again, for reference, a positive play occurs on about 24.8% of the average starting quarterback's snaps this year. That's unheard of. Like, the fact that he's doing 10% better than average while also brand new in this offense on a bad team, that's really good. And then only 18.9% negative plays. The average is 28, so he's 10% better on the good end and 10% better on the low end. So he's making things happen more often, and he's avoiding bad things more often. He had no pickable balls. Yeah, there was the one pick that got called back for a defensive pass interference, but honestly, that was a great throw, and I'd like to grade it. I didn't, but I wish I had. The cheap plays, only 41%, which is very low. Again, most of those came on those little boot left drags. That puts his overall slugging at 17.5, which is a legitimate A+ regardless of context, but when you add in the fact that he's so brand new, this game is unheard of. Like, if he had been in this offense for a full year, a 17.5 puts it up there with some of the very best games of the entire season by any quarterback whatsoever. The fact that he did it on a day and a half of this offense, the fact that he did it with backup wide receivers he's literally never thrown to. He never had a practice with the Rams. He had a walkthrough. He never threw the ball. He never wore pads. So he has no timing. He doesn't know the plays. He's just free balling out there, making shit happen with backup wide receivers, an entirely backup filled offensive line, a running game that's struggled all year, and again, just no command of the playbook whatsoever. It's fucking incredible. And here's another thing we need to mention. Having lived in LA for 2 years and been to plenty of Rams games in the Stafford era, I can tell you for a fact that the Raiders are the most popular football team in Los Angeles. That was a home game for the Raiders. I promise you. It was much louder when the Raiders were on defense and the Rams had the ball than vice versa. So, effectively an away game with complete upheaval in his routine. This is why I keep on telling people Baker Mayfield's got something. It turns out when you give him not even a good team, it's not a good roster. In fact, his roster in Carolina is probably better than what he had today. It's just so much better coached. People are doing their job. You don't have Ike Ekwonu completely forgetting who he's supposed to block, giving a free rusher, carte blanche on Baker Mayfield's throat. You don't have, DJ Moore trying to turn every play into a deep ball when he simply doesn't have the juice for that. You don't have Robbie Anderson making obscene drops. You don't have really stupid play calls that put you behind the chains. Everything was competent for Baker Mayfield for the first time in probably his entire career, and he flourished. And I don't know how he does against Green Bay next week. I predict he'll do even better. I predict he'll do very, very well against Green Bay next week, and I think that he will be kind of taking the league by storm. But we'll see. I'll have a video one way or another for you. Promise that. So to everybody that's been coming on these Baker Mayfield videos and saying, he's a bust, he sucks, like, you're delusional, you're seeing things. If you think he's playing so average, then how come they're not winning, they're not scoring? Well, this is why. Because this is what it looks like when everybody around him at least does their job. Maybe not even well. They just do what they're supposed to do. It turns out that even in 2022, coaching, offensive line play, and receivers have some tangible effect on how a quarterback's performance is perceived. Baker didn't play that much better than he's played earlier this season. I mean, against the 49ers, Baker Mayfield played excellent. With the Panthers, played excellent. Arguably as well as he played in this game, if you take out the context of the 2 days on the team thing. It was excellent. But drops, miscommunications, routes being run improperly, poor offensive line play, they lead to batted balls. These things lead to, incomplete passes in key situations. They lead to general failures. Baker Mayfield with the Rams probably isn't going to look great. And honestly, I was expecting this to be really depressing to watch because the Rams, as a roster, have fallen apart. But I guess I kind of forgot that despite what's kind of availed itself the last 2 years, Baker's absolutely capable of transcending. He can play really well even with a bad cast. He can play really well even with below-average coaching. But when he's given a good coach and he's given a cast that is, again, not good at all, but competent, professional, does generally what they're supposed to do on most plays. No freelancing, no diva shit, no complete brain farts, just competent. Baker's really good, and he can transcend a little bit. He can make some awesome throws. Now, if you want to say that the throw to Skoranek wasn't elite, it was just good, it was a jump ball, downgrade that shit to solid, that's fine. Still a 15.7 grade. It's still an A+. It doesn't change shit. Still a positive throw. So you could say that I overrated maybe 1 or 2 throws, and maybe I did. But it certainly doesn't make up for the fact that he's been in this offense for 36 hours. You could say the Raiders' defense sucks, and it kind of does. But you could also say that the Rams are playing with backups. This is the fucking Rams preseason squad. And Baker's balling. God forbid he comes back next year and he's got Allen Robinson and Cooper Kupp back. God forbid he comes back next year and the Rams' offensive line is intact. Now, I love Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford's an awesome quarterback, and I think he's still better than Baker Mayfield. But there's a large part of me that hopes that Matt Stafford walks away with what's left of his health, so we can get one last hurrah from Baker in LA with Sean McVay, and everybody can see what he can really do, what he's really capable of. Thanks for watching. Sorry I haven't been putting out any videos, but this game has re-inspired me. Now I'm going to get back on the grind. Till next time, hasta.